her background is nerd.
Darren should have gone to school here instead of Cutter, because you are a devil. I can tell you that right now.
She rolls in like she's a Hollywood movie star now. She just she's just here for the camera.
I guess I tooted.
No hard-hitting questions here.
Yeah,
Shall we talk about my one-sentence resignation?
Well, next episode of Spilling the Tea in Studio D is at the, I guess you would call it the transportation. What do y'all call this actual facility?
Yeah, this is the, we call our end the transportation
Oh, yeah?
department.
Y'all have other folks in here?
We do. We have maintenance, we have custodian, and technology down towards that end.
Okay,
So,
all right.
yeah,
So
warehouse is back there too.
Yeah,
Right,
I actually came in the warehouse on accident because I
Yep.
came in the back way, and I'm used to small, bus shop maintenance department.
Yeah. I don't know if you
Like-
knew this or not. We're at the Bryant School District, by the way. Candace, it's a pretty big district.
I mean, I know,
It
but I
is.
mean,
Yeah.
like, I was thinking we were just going to be like bus. I didn't know.
It is our
Combined.
largest
So I
district,
came in.
so-
I
Yes.
came in the warehouse back there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, you're used to back
Yeah.
doing lots of things. So anyway, I digress. We're very fortunate this morning to have with us Miss Jo Cahil. That's
Cahil.
Cahil. Okay, I knew
Yeah.
there was a Hill Gill, something like that.
Yeah. Well, if you're old enough, think of John Wayne. The movie,
Okay, yep.
Movie.
Gotcha.
Cahill, U.S. Marshal.
Yep, I got you.
You can only
Okay.
say that to a certain age.
He's
people.
definitely
Yeah.
old enough.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, absolutely. So, Ms. Jo, the reason we brought you in today, we got some leads on you, I guess would be the best way to say that. But
Yeah.
what an incredible bus driver you are. One thing that the three of us have in common, we've all driven a bus.
Oh,
right?
really? I did
Yeah.
not know that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
and then
yeah.
second of all, we'll exclude Candace, but you and I, we have Hollywood good looks, so we've got that going.
Yeah.
So
Whatever.
yeah. So how long have you been with the district, and kind of tell us your story and how you came to the Bryant School District?
I was thinking about that just this morning. I really don't remember how it came to my attention. I need to go apply to be a bus driver. I was
Right.
just in whatever crummy little job I was in that was
Yeah.
not paying very much and was horrible and all of that. And I just thought I've got to do something different. And so somehow or another, I ended up deciding to look into driving a school bus. And so I had sat down and made up a list of,
Right.
different school districts and everything. And since I live in Bryan, I thought, well, Bryan will be the first place I go. I walked in the door, and at the time, Miss Sherry Benton was the transportation secretary. And she was like, get in here now. We always need bus drivers. And so she's like, I'll have you an interview tomorrow.
Right.
So anyway, that's kind of how it started. And the truth is that I got the job pretty easy and, and all of
Right.
that. And it was kind of a wonderful thing because I did not have a CDL at the time. But, of
Right.
course, if you don't have one, then
Yeah.
school is the transportation director. Scott Curtis, he's so awesome to help you get one and
Right.
all of that. Well, when I came here, Tom Farmer was the transportation
Right.
director. It
Yeah.
was his last year before he was going to retire. And Scott Curtis was the assistant transportation director, and it was his first year being in the transportation department. And so it was a really cool thing because I didn't have a CDL and I was studying for it. I had already
Right.
started studying and everything. And he helped me practice driving the bus and all of that stuff. And he was in the process of becoming an instructor or
Yeah.
a tester. I'm not real
Yeah,
sure what they
right,
call him.
right.
But anyway, so I was the first person he ever gave a CDL test to. And, of
Gotcha.
course, I had never taken a CDL
Yeah.
test. So it's just kind of a cool thing. I just
Right.
love that we have that in common. And we just kind of, encouraged each other and helped each other.
Right.
But I do have to say that about 3 weeks into it, I started off. I drive a sped route now, and so I have an air conditioned bus, and I have a wonderful para, and quite a few less kids than a
Right.
big bus and all of
Right.
that stuff. But when I started, I got my chops in on the
Yeah.
big bus
Yeah.
out in Shannon Hills, Vimy
Yeah.
Ridge area, and all of that. And about 3 weeks into it, it was on a Thursday. I went to Tom Farmer and I said, Mr. Farmer, today is Thursday. I'm going to go home and I'm going to pray really hard. And I'm going to pray really hard tomorrow and Saturday and Sunday. And I'm going to come back Monday morning and tell you if I'm staying here, because this is the craziest job I've ever had in my life. This is insane. I'm supposed to be up here driving and being safe and protecting everything and protecting all these kids. And then I got to deal with all that too.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, it was really blowing my mind, and I just didn't know if I could do it. And my daughter was real logical and calm and all of that. So I thought all kids were like that. Until I got on a bus. And so anyway, so I did exactly what I said. I just went home, I prayed a lot, and I was like, Lord, am I in the right place? What is going on? And I really love all these people here at the school district, but I just don't know about this job. And I called some of my teacher friends. I thought, these are the people I need to speak to and get some advice and all of that stuff. And so the last one I talked to was she's been my best friend for like 40 years. Her name is Kim Lindsay. She works over at the middle school, teaching the craziest age group of all.
Oh yeah, we've
been middle school.
And I don't know how she does it, but anyway, I just told her, I said, I don't know how you do this. I go home and I cry like 3-4 nights a week and all. And she said, girl, you only cry 3 or 4 nights a week. The first year I worked here, I cried every single night, every single night. And so that's what came to my mind Sunday night. I was like, I've got to make a decision, because I did tell Mr. Farmer I was going to talk to him in the morning. So I just thought, well, I don't cry every night.
Right.
Yeah. So,
that's right.
And 10 years later, here I am, still here,
so
how
many years you got in?
This is 9.5, 10 years.
Okay.
Is about how long I've been here. Yeah.
Well, and I never had a route per se, but, always filled in, being a teacher coach kind of thing. You had to have the CDL. And I can remember the first time that I did have to run a route. It's nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you this. So I had a kid that I had in class, and it was at Jesseville, so it's one of these back road country routes. And so I said, you sit up front, and then you tell me where the stops are. He said, I got you, Coach. I'm on it.
Okay.
So we'd go, we're about 2 miles into it. He said, stop. And he goes, I'm just kidding.
Of course.
He did that about 6 times, and that's when I got him up real close and said, look here, you little knucklehead. If you do that again, I said, I'll figure out the route, but you're going to be walking home from this point on. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
See, I was new to Lakeside, new teacher, like year 4, so I'm 24, 25.
Oh, wow.
So they taught me into coaching the cheerleaders. Well, then they're like, well, see, if you're coaching the cheerleaders, we're going to need you to get your CDL so you can drive the bus. I didn't know at that time, they're going to talk me into doing this. And then next thing you know, can you drive, I was buddies with Ray at the bus shop. He's like, Tina, can you please drive just a sub route? I'm like, oh my gosh, Ray. I was like, I'll be stressed out the whole time. And of course, I start doing it. But one of the funniest, there's a lot of funny me driving a bus is hilarious anyway. But I had to drive a snub nose bus one time. So I said, I've never driven one of these buses. Ray's like, it's fine. You can do it. Just go out a little farther than you think. Your body's going to be like in the middle. I'm like, okay. So I'm getting on there. And of course, I hadn't been driving a sub route long. And the kids are like, Miss Bennett? Some of them were new. I hadn't driven that route before. Do you know how to drive a bus? I'm like, no. So sit down and be quiet. Well, I hit 3 curbs, and they legit were like, you don't know how to drive a bus.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, no, I don't. So I got back, and I said, don't ever put me on one of those again, ever.
Oh, wow.
It was bad.
Really, that's funny, because that's my favorite kind of bus to drive. It's the others that make me, I always have to really concentrate.
Well, it definitely
so it just
takes some getting
preference,
used to
I guess.
it. And you get all kinds of advice. They're like, let the door pass the turn, then turn the bus. All kinds of
they have so many. There's no telling. I was probably the biggest joke at the bus shop, because I had to call one time. I drove a route, I'm not from Hot Springs, I'm from Malvern. I didn't know places in Hot Springs existed. I'm on these bus routes. So they're like, just get the last kid that you drop off to tell you how to get back or whatever. I'm like, okay. The kid was 6 years old, and I'm like, so I stop and I call the bus shop. I'm like, Ray, I don't know where I am, and this is before Google Maps.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Oh, yeah.
and I said,
Yeah.
I don't know how to get back to Lakeside. Like, you could hear they were coming on dying laughing. It was hysterical.
I believe
and I'm
it.
just like,
This
good
this
Lord
is so
help me.
familiar. Wow,
Yeah.
y'all would just fit right in here. I swear
Well,
you would.
but one of the main reasons we're here really is to talk about the relationship piece that you have with the kids on the bus.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, to the
Yeah.
point of I think you went the extra mile. You provided shoes to some of them.
I did.
So
I did,
talk a little bit
yes.
about that.
Well, I have to tell y'all that, and I've said this every single time somebody's brought this up, but I have to say it again. Normally, I just try to have a giving heart, and I try
Right.
to do what's right and all
Yeah.
that sort of thing. But I don't normally talk about it. I don't go
Sure.
around telling people about it. I
Right.
like to just slide in and go, whoever's in charge, here you
Right.
go, here's this, and y'all have fun. And then, if I get to stand on the sidelines and watch the happy, then that's my
Right.
reward, if I
Sure.
even need a reward,
that's
right.
But so this has just been so awkward to me.
Yeah.
to have to
But, I
keep
think
on
it's
trying to talk about
I know,
this,
but I think it's good because other people may be like, you know what, I need to do that too.
Yeah.
And I think,
yes,
you know,
and that's exactly what everybody kept telling me. We need more good in the world. We
Right.
need to hear
Absolutely.
good stories. And
Yes.
so I was
Yeah.
like, you're right. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna be a good sport, and I'm gonna go ahead and do this, because you're exactly right. We don't
Right.
hear nearly enough of the good stuff,
right.
But like I said, really what it comes down to is pretty simple, I guess. I've done a lot of dysfunctional things in my life, a lot
Right.
of selfish things, a lot of hurtful
Yeah.
things, a lot of things that
Right.
were self-destructive, all of that. And when I finally realized, okay, this is not working and this is horrible and all, I'm going to leave a horrible legacy. And
Right.
now I have a daughter and I refuse,
Right.
It's
Yeah.
got to stop with me. Things have got to change.
Right.
So now I try to live like 1 Thessalonians 1 says, which is work produced by faith and labor promoted or prompted by love and endurance.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Endurance inspired by hope and all. And so that's the way I try to live, and I hope that someday that's maybe I'll have outdone all of the bad stuff, and that's
Right.
what people will remember me by. So
Right.
that's sort of my motivation, I suppose, and just in general, it's I just there is so much bad in the world. Why can't we just
Oh, yeah.
do good
Let's
things?
do
I
the
don't
good.
want to do bad things anymore. But from the recipient's point of view, I just feel like there are so many people that that are in the same situations that I was in, and
Right.
I just long to make sure they know that they're valued.
Oh,
they
absolutely.
have worth.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
so important to me. Just people need to know we care about you, we value
Right.
you, and you have worth. And good
Right.
night if you just take care of some of the practical needs and
Right.
things where someone's not so
Right.
burdened with all of that. If you can help them with that part,
Right.
then maybe they can get out there and spread some of their God-given
Right.
magical sparkle in the world, and you'd be amazed at all the good things that can happen from them.
Yeah, that's
so
so awesome.
that I feel like
so
that's,
what
that's not
prompted-
it's not unique or anything,
the shoe,
but
the
it's
shoe piece
Yeah.
is a little unique. I mean, in that, what prompted that? Just the kids, the relationship you had with them?
well, like I said, it's always on the back of my mind to do things like that if I have the opportunity. But that particular day was Super Bowl Sunday, and I had forgotten shampoo and conditioner when I went to the store. And so I really needed it, or I would have never been in the store, okay? And so I realize now, of course, that it was kind of like fated to happen, I suppose.
God put you there
But
for a reason.
normally I would have just said, I'll get it next time or whatever, but I really needed it because I was out completely. And so I go in the store, and it was so crowded and so busy.
Yeah.
I know nothing about the Super Bowl. So that's when I found out that it doesn't start at 10 o'clock in the morning and go all day, and people are already at home doing their
Right.
parties and,
Right.
having their buffalo wings and
Yeah.
their nachos and stuff. Everybody was in the store shopping
Right.
for their parties later on in the day. And so I was in hyper focus mode, just get this done because I've got this and this and this to do and all of that. And so all I wanted was shampoo and conditioner, and so So I went in, it was so busy, and I was just like, oh boy, this is not my scene today. I don't want to be around all these people. So I went straight over, got what I needed, and I thought, well, while I'm here, let me go ahead and get some more Lysol wipes for the bus. And so, of course, they're way over here, and here's the shampoo and soap over, and stuff in Walmart. And so I thought, well, I'm cutting around the back of the store, avoid all these people and everything. So that's exactly what I did. Otherwise, I would have never went around the shoe department to begin with. So this was a surprise to me too. In other words, I had no idea, had no intention of doing this, and I scooted past that, and the cleaning supplies are just right there past the dog food and all that, and the shoes and everything, and I just kind of felt a tap on my shoulder that said, "Hey, you missed it. I was trying to show you something,"
Sure.
And so I turned around and I see this big old rack full of shoes and everything, and just kind of wandered over there, and I looked at them, and I just couldn't believe my eyes. I was like, am I seeing these tags wrong? These are $1?
Yeah.
I was so amazed, and so I thought, well, I'm gonna put some of these in the basket here. So I did. I put about 10 pair in the basket, and I thought, how am I supposed to know who needs what? What sizes? There are all kinds of sizes here, all kinds of styles. What should I get? What shouldn't I get? And so I turned around and I asked the little lady that was working in the shoe department. I said, is there a limit on how many of these shoes I can buy? And she said, oh, no, ma'am. We're just trying to get rid of them because we got new stock coming in. So we've got them marked pretty cheap. And I said, yeah, this is really cheap.
Yeah.
And I said, I want all of them. And we're talking like this big, huge rack.
Right.
And she just kind of looked at me. She said, okay, well, honey, I'll just push this rack right on up to the front counter for you. And I was like, all right, let's go. So I didn't even get my wipes that I wanted. And we went straight up there, and she was like, now look, I have to tell you that I'm not supposed to take this rack out of the shoe department, and honestly I shouldn't have left the shoe department myself, so I'm not going to be able to stay up here with you while you check these out and everything, so we got to put these in your buggy. So here we go, standing here making a complete spectacle, just throwing shoes after shoes after shoes off this rack into this buggy, and the buggy's getting higher and higher. And people are going by going, what are you doing, girl? And all that. And I'm like, look, I'm not trying to hog them. If you need some shoes, these are cheap.
Yeah.
Get you some.
Yeah.
But nobody else wanted them. So anyway, I get up there, and then I started putting them on the belt and everything. And God bless her, the cashier and the shoe lady, neither one of them blinked an eye. And I said something to the cashier. I said, I'm impressed you didn't even blink an eye about what you're seeing here. And she's like, oh, honey, I've been here a long time, and I've seen a lot of things, but at least this one's good.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Anyway, I lost count, y'all. I lost count somewhere in the general area of 55, 60 pair of shoes.
Wow.
And she must have checked out at least another 10, 15 pairs of shoes.
Right.
So I estimate it was about 75 pairs of shoes.
Right.
And I had people standing behind me and all, what are you going to do with all that? And I said, I'm going to find a place to donate them, but I'm not sure yet. I need to pray about this because God told me to get these. He's providing for all of this. And at the same time, in my mind, I'm sitting here going, God, I'm making a spectacle of myself. Do we have to have this so public, and all of that? I don't like this very much. And this is unsettling to me and all. And he was just like, you just keep praising me and giving me credit, and it's all going to be good.
Right.
Well, anyway, so needless to say, I get all of these amounts of shoes. I have a Fiat car, okay?
Oh.
So my car was like completely stacked
The whole
full
back
of shoes.
seat, yeah.
Yes, full of shoes. And I'm like, okay, Lord, so what do I do with these shoes now?
Right.
Who do I give them to? I've got a couple of places that I usually am pretty good to donate to and all of that when I find real good sales or something like that. And so nothing was coming to my mind immediately. But by the time I got home, I was thinking of Karen Walters, Dr. Karen Walters, our superintendent. And I love Dr. Walters, but I'm not in the habit of thinking about her twice an hour on the hour, for 2 days in a row.
Right.
So I kind of took that as my sign that I was supposed to get in touch with her. And when we had our big professional development meeting before school started, she just very briefly mentioned, I'm in the Rotary Club and we do this project, helping kids get clothes and things like that. And that's literally all she said about it.
Right.
But I thought that's got to be, but I didn't know the name of the place. I didn't know where it
Yeah.
was, where to go or anything. And I have to tell you that I know that this was definitely a project of God that wanted to bless kids and all of that, but I think also that he was trying to show me where this place was. It's called the Kids Closet, and it's on Highway 5 over here at I think they're the Friends in Christ Lutheran Church runs it. And it's been under my nose. Like I said, I've lived in Bryant for like 24 years, 25 years, and I never knew this place was here.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, here's this place, and these beautiful ladies running this place, and, you know, just clothes and just anything anybody needs, totally free, totally without condition. Nothing. They just want you to be from Saline County. But, you know, they're just such giving hearts and such beautiful ladies. So fun, too, and all of that. And, you know, so it was I feel like I was blessed more than anybody else was.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
I love that so much.
Well,
but anyway, I go to Kroger and they have a good sale and I have good coupons, you know, or whatever. So I buy some food, you know, and I find somebody to give it to or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So it's not that is a unique thing that I do or anything, but that was a very unique situation for sure.
Sure.
Yeah. And I don't know that I've ever bought 75 pair of shoes.
I can promise you I haven't.
I haven't either.
Not at one
they were
sitting.
good. They were good shoes too.
Yeah.
I mean, little Paw Patrol tennis shoes and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then like Shaq shoes and New Balance, and there were some awesome little suede boots for girls.
Right.
That's
there,
awesome.
just different things.
Well, you talk
shoes.
about
Good
leaving your
shoes.
legacy, but you know, a couple of years ago, I kind of had a mind shift on that. I heard it somewhere. They talked about as far as leaving a legacy, in order to do that, you've got to live it. And I thought
that's true.
You know, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
If you truly live your legacy, you'll leave a legacy.
Exactly. And you know, you hear that your whole life, but you have to find that out for yourself and
absolutely.
make it real in your own life, don't you?
Oh,
you know?
100%. And what I would say
did
there,
when my daughter
well, I
was
started
born.
to say, I mean, you're definitely living that legacy, living it out loud.
Yeah, I try to.
And you know, I say it kind of figuratively, but even literally, what an example you're setting with those kids that are sitting behind you every day, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
I love your heart. And we were talking earlier, Darren didn't hear this, but you talk about the noise canceling headphones. It's just like you just think about others.
Right.
She always constantly thinking about others. So.
I really do have a lot of empathy, I guess it is. You know, and try to go out of my way if I can meet a need, then why not do it? You know.
Right.
But no, I was telling Candy that I had a couple of kids on my bus that seemed like they'd really benefit from some noise canceling headphones, and so I got in touch with the SPED department and asked them could we have some, and they gave me 3 pair, I think it was, and so I get on the bus, and I'm like, here you go, I got these for you, and I think that you'll really they'll help you a lot with all the noise on the bus and different things like that. And so, of course, everybody on the bus needs a pair now.
Oh yeah,
You know,
yeah.
So she had to turn around and go get it for all of them.
Yeah. So so anyway, it was, you know, I should have known that in the first place. I should have said, about 15 pair.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, they were a novelty for about a month there, and then nobody really needed them.
Yeah.
Couple the kids that actually needed them, they ended up asking for some from their parents for Christmas, and so now they have really fancy ones and all that. So we don't really use them much anymore.
Right. Well, and a lot of times we obviously, I mean, we kind of take the bus driver position for granted from the standpoint of this. I mean, a lot of kids, a whole lot of kids, that's where their day begins and ends. So you get to set the tone.
So seriously,
yeah,
I do.
Absolutely.
And some days I don't succeed. I won't even lie about that. But a lot of days when I'm just in a cranky mood or I just don't feel like it or whatever, then I think of exactly that. Hey, wait a minute, you know, these kids are going to get on the bus, and what do they feel like today and all that? I need to be happy and at least have a smile on my face and let them know I love them and everything.
And we talk about that a lot.
Yeah,
we talk about that a lot. Everybody has stuff in their life, you know, and you know, as adults, we can kind of guide that a little bit.
Yes.
But kids, not so much. So I, you know, as a superintendent, I used to encourage our folks, look, that bag of stuff, you know, leave it at the door because
Yeah.
kids are coming to us probably with a lot more stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So
I remember being a kid and looking
absolutely.
up to certain adults and all. And,
yeah.
you know, if something weird happened or whatever, a kid just doesn't know how to put that into context or, you know, how to say, oh, okay, it's still good, though. No, you know, suddenly you don't love me and they're, you know, they're not my friend or whatever, you know. So kids worry. Kids worry.
And just the mere fact of the kids that you drive know that you care. I mean, again, that sets an incredible positive tone.
I try so hard to let them know that I care. And my para, her name's Robin, and she's just wonderful with the kids as well. I'm so blessed to have such a good para that's not just there because it's a job, you know.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And so between us, we really do try to make a team and let these kids know, hey, we love you and we care about you, and you can count on us.
So how long have you been driving this particular route?
This particular route I've been driving for, I want to say this is my 5th year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I lose track of dates
so,
and things.
So
don't,
you got some
don't stick
deep-rooted
very,
relationships.
Yeah. But, you know, it's funny you say that because I still have kids on the other bus. I still think about them to this day.
Right.
You know, just about on a daily basis.
Oh, absolutely.
I still think about a lot of those kids and, you know, say a little prayer for them or send a little blessed and sparkly vibe towards them or something, you know.
So what's been the largest route as far as number of kids that you've driven?
I guess it would be the only other route I ever drove was the one out in Shannon Hills. And oh gosh, I couldn't tell you how many kids were on there. The bus was full. Let's just put it that way. It was a very full bus, and between that and the transfers that I'd take to Davis, and then, you know, they'd get off, and then other kids would get on and all that. It was completely full. Trying to keep up with that seating chart was just
I bet.
it was no fun at all. That was the worst. That's the only thing about the route I ever didn't like was how hard it was to keep everybody
who can you
getting
sit
along
next to, and who can you oh my gosh, I
and
know.
it's just a constant scramble.
Well, and I kind of go back to that first time I ever, you know, drove a bus, but, you know, it wasn't until I, you know, kid after kid after kid after kid kept getting on there. I thought, man, what an incredible responsibility this is. And like I say, I'm driving down a dirt road that's you know, just a single lane. I mean, I'm white knuckling it and trying to look at kids.
Oh yes, it's crazy.
Oh yes, I do know. Yes, and I take that so seriously. I never forget these people's lives are in my hands.
Oh,
it would always stress me out. I'd be like counting how many got off. How many got,
and I think to myself, me? Who, you know, why in the world am I even allowed to do this, to do something so important, you know, to have all these kids' lives in my hands and be able to influence them every day, to have a good day or not a good day, or
the
to feel
good
good
news
about
is,
themselves
though,
or not. So
probably in your
it doesn't
life.
come natural to me anyway. Let's put it that way.
I'll
I'm
say
always
that
want to go, no, get somebody better than me to
I
do
would
that.
say that it does, okay? Just talking to you, it comes pretty naturally. But the good news was when you got into driving, right, they were all automatic buses by that time.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Oh, yeah. I've seen some old buses and thought, how did they do this?
When I drove, we had one bus that was still stick shift, right?
Oh, wow.
It was the spare. And unbeknownst to me, when I say every time, I mean every time you stopped and got ready to take off again, that thing would backfire like a shotgun. First time it did that, I was ducking. I was like, what was that? And they're going, Coach, it's the bus. And I was like, oh, my gosh. I told them that day, I said, I'm going to put a condition on sub-driving. I'm not driving that bus ever
Not driving
again.
that bus ever again, huh? Yeah.
It'd die about every third stop. I was just like, why do we still have this thing? So.
Well, the first bus I ever drove was bus number 1, and it was out there in Vimy Ridge and Shannon Hills area, and I just do that weird thing where I name every vehicle I've ever driven,
right?
Because I am a driver, always have been,
right?
And I was just so new and so enamored with all of my buttons.
Oh yeah,
all that stuff, you know, and all this automatic stuff over here. And all. So I named my bus Jarvis. And I felt like Iron Man.
I
felt like Iron Man with all of my controls, my buttons, and all this stuff. You know,
I love it.
I'm kind of over all that now, but I do still name all of my buses.
That's awesome.
So we talk about that, you know, being in a position of influence, which you are. So talk to us a little bit about maybe somebody. Where'd you go to high school?
I went to high school at McClellan
Okay.
in Little Rock.
Okay.
So
Yeah, but I was born and raised kind of out in this general area, so I
Right.
went to Sheridan for a little while, and then moved to
Right.
and then eventually. But I did graduate from McClellan.
So if you could reach in and pull out one teacher that impacted you, who would that be?
Oh wow. I don't even have to think about this, and in fact, I'm not even surprised that you said that, because this has been something that I was wondering should I bring up or say during this interview, and so I'm not even surprised. I was definitely supposed to. When I was, you have to understand that I came from both sides of my family were extremely dysfunctional, and I was one of those kids, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
And
sure.
Was for many years. And when I was going to Sheridan Elementary School. I don't remember. This is the only part I can't remember. I can't remember if I was in the first grade, second grade, or third grade. Somewhere in there. I was real young anyway.
Right.
Put it that way. That was the one part I could never remember and was trying to remember. I guess it was. I was just going along, and I was just my awkward little self, real shy, real, gosh, leave me alone. I don't like the world. It's this place is really kind of a horrible place to be, and all of that. Trying to get through the day, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And all the teachers and everybody, I guess they knew, they could tell that I was one of those kids that needed a little extra and that didn't get much at home by way of, clothes and all of the practical stuff, much less anything extra, emotional or psychological or anything, except for maybe something bad. But I don't remember what these teachers looked like. I don't remember a single one of them's name.
Right.
All I know, I'm going to start bawling here. I just know I am. All I know is that these ladies got together. And of course, this was way back when we didn't have all the programs we have now and stuff,
Sure.
So this was just these ladies getting together, going, who can we help? There's a need, and all of that. And they hand delivered these dresses to myself and my sister.
Wow.
I have an older sister who's a year older than me.
Yeah.
And they had gotten together and sewn these dresses.
Oh my.
And
man, that's awesome.
To this day, I call them a Holly Hobby dresses.
Right.
Just these beautiful little. You got to remember, this was like in the 70s.
Sure.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
These
so
beautiful
sweet.
little frilly dresses that went all the way to the ground, and just these wonderful.
Right.
I don't know, Little House on the Prairie patterns or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember anything but just how beautiful I felt in them and how loved I felt
Right.
when they brought them over there, and you could tell that they kind of were like, okay, we don't know if this is okay or not.
Right.
But we just wanted to do this because we thought your daughters might need these and all.
Yeah.
My mom was nice enough about it and everything, but all I know is that I was just amazed.
Sure.
I was so in awe.
Right.
And I felt so beautiful and so loved with those dresses.
Right.
And like I said, I don't to this day. Honestly, those ladies may even, not even still be alive. They may be up with the Lord now.
Right.
But to this day, I think about them all the time. And I want to be like them. I want to emulate them.
Yeah.
So I suppose you could say that that's really kind of where it all started for me and everything. But,
and just and I'm sure the kids that that receive the shoes and the other things that you donate feel the same way. I mean, a pair of shoes for a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, that can make them feel like $1 million, no doubt about it. New pair of shoes.
That is true. That is so true. But I still remember just prancing around and what a princess I felt like, and all that.
Yeah.
And now, of course, I think about it and I think those ladies sat down in their living room or wherever with a sewing machine and took hours to make these dresses by hand and and do all of that and everything and that's where it comes from, work produced by faith and it just this is where my endurance,
Sure.
inspired by hope, is
Yeah.
directly related to those beautiful,
but the
beautiful
opportunity
teachers.
to pay it forward. I mean, what an incredible opportunity, in the mere fact that, like you said, you followed that up. I mean, we've all been there. I mean, you walk by a person, you walk by a situation, and you're thinking, you know, what am I doing here? And then you push it down and say, nah, that's just a silly thought in my head. But you acted on it.
Yeah.
And like I said, the impact you're going to have with a cart full of shoes.
Yeah.
Well, and just your experiences. I
hope
don't
so.
know that I've ever cried on the podcast until today, but
I know.
just your
I can't believe I'm not bawling.
experiences are going to help other people, you know?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yes.
we say all the time, like I send a weekly email and
Yeah.
say kids don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yes.
So
Yes, and that is so true. Yes, and I have to say that was probably me then, and all these years that I've had, you know, that I could have turned into a really bitter monster and all of that. And maybe I did sometimes. I can't say I didn't, but you know what I mean.
I mean, we
It
all
always
like that.
always came back. You know,
Well,
and I
exactly.
I
Yeah,
know that at least some of it came from those ladies. A lot of it came
Oh
from
yeah,
those
like
ladies.
I said, probably like I mean, even at that young age, I mean, that's a turning point kind of thing in your life. I mean,
Yes,
you
I
could
remember
have
being
just
on the playground,
gotten
being so
just
careful with my
that-
dress.
Yeah.
you
Well,
know,
that's
and
right,
I felt
yeah.
so beautiful, and I didn't
Yeah.
want to get
I
dirt
love it.
on it.
Oh,
I love it.
Yeah, that.
Well, and
that's
we have a
incredible.
lot of educators that watch this too, and so that's just speaks volumes.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
to encourage them to
Yeah.
do that for that
Yes.
kid,
Oh,
or
yes.
be there for that kid,
I-
believe in that kid.
I am so inspired and in awe of teachers and you know, all of the
just
the
every
support
adult
people
just
and
every adult
everybody.
in the school, you know, whether
Yes.
that's the bus driver or the front secretary, or
Exactly.
everybody has a place and is there
Exactly.
to reach certain
It's just-
kids.
It's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
It's
and
amazing
like I say,
to
not
be
only are
able
you
to do it every day.
you know, not only are you providing for kids, but setting the example, as Candace said, for the adults, and hopefully maybe stir something in them.
Yeah.
You know, the next time they get the opportunity to push something out, they do it. You know?
Yeah. Well, you know, and that's one reason why I really love the Bryant School District is because you don't have to remind people to do that.
Right,
They
sure.
just do it. You know, it
Yeah.
just comes natural.
That's
You don't even
amazing.
really have to have to
Yep.
say, "Hey, we need to do this." Everybody's
Yeah.
already got a thought in their head and is
Oh,
trying
yeah.
to implement it. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Well, and that's the thing I think sometimes too. You know, education is truly a kid business. It's truly a heart business, and if your
Yes.
heart's not
Yep.
into
Oh,
it,
yes.
you know, number
Yes.
one, kids are the greatest BS detectors in America.
Oh, for sure.
You know, but,
So
but,
true,
But,
so
but you
true.
know, number two, you know, like I said, if your heart's not in it, you're going to live a miserable existence.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly.
Oh yeah.
And,
Yeah.
You know, because it's
And you're going to be called out pretty quick.
Oh, yeah,
too, you know,
absolutely.
Just like you
Oh,
said.
yeah.
Absolutely.
You will. I
Yeah.
promise.
Yep.
I mean, this is career too for me, and it's truly a calling. And I think anybody that's in it, honestly, if they would slow down long enough to think about it, I think the ones that are truly here, they realize the fact that it is a calling.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And so, you know, people have always told me, you know, if you do this thing right along the way, you'll have, you know, a kid come back and tell you what they meant. But I've been blessed. I've had lots of them. You know, I've got
Yeah.
adults now. You know, it's hard to believe they're that old, but they'll call and ask for advice, or they'll call just to check in.
Yeah. Oh,
And-
that's
And that's just the
wonderful.
ones that will say things, and then you
Yeah.
have the kids like you that you don't you
Yeah.
don't remember, but you
Right.
do appreciate. So
Oh yeah.
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 just so many people that can be impacted. So many.
Well, driving the bus like you've had, like for the length of time that you've had to have some type of embarrassing moment, right? You think maybe you had a,
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm sure I have, but
or you like me? There's too many on the bus to,
yeah.
to
That's what I
narrow
was
it
gonna say.
down.
Which ones would it be?
Let's see. While she's thinking, I smashed the tailpipe on the bus when I
Yeah.
took the cheerleaders
Right.
to a ball game at Cho Robinson,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
then
I've done that
and
sort of
then-
thing. Ran over a
Right.
sign in
Uh-huh.
where was I? I don't remember where I was, but I ran over a sign somewhere trying
Yeah.
to back up, and I had
Yeah.
to come and say, "Guess what I did?"
Well, I can
Hated that day.
remember one day that they're like, "Hey, we need you to drive the route up to the Boys and Girls Club," which it was maybe a mile away from campus. I'm thinking I can do that, but I mean, now, when I say this bus was packed, it was packed. I mean, they just kept coming on, and I mean, in the elementary pickup line, they were off the walls, and they had Kool-Aid mustaches getting on there and sacks, and I thought, man, I've been hoodooed because it was Valentine's Day. They hopped them up on sugar, got them on that bus.
Oh yeah, you know it.
Oh yeah, and it was cold February, and I never will forget. There was this one kid. I mean, he was probably 6 or 8, but in beautiful penmanship, started writing the F word on there. And so, anyway, when I turned around and see who it was, I mean, I knew the kid's family very well. And, of course, when I called, I mean, I told the kids, sit down, but when I called the parents, and half laughing, half not, they were mortified, oh, my gosh, where did he learn that? And I'm like, I don't know. Good question.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have some very little ones that just start repeating words, and you think, okay, yep.
Yeah.
We can't always say words that we hear everybody else say.
Right.
Let's not repeat
No,
those.
but no, I can't think of anything that is just too embarrassing. I'll probably think 100 things by the time I go home, because I'm sure there were lots. But mainly just stuff like you're saying, just things like that.
Oh, yeah.
Running into a sign.
And at the time when you're living it, like you say, I mean, you're already kind of tensed up from driving a bus full of kids, and stuff like that happens. You're like, oh my gosh, it's the end of everything.
Yeah.
Looking back on it, you're like, that ain't.
You're exactly right too.
Yeah.
Yes, you're exactly right, because I used to, and I still do some days. It just seemed like the biggest thing in the world, and then like you say, a couple of months later, you're like, well, that really wasn't that traumatic. I just made that a little more traumatic in my mind, didn't I? But it feels that way when you're living it, for
Absolutely.
sure.
So,
For sure.
I mean, definitely you've lived a blessed life, right? So what's the best piece of advice that you ever got from anybody?
Oh gosh. Same thing. There's probably hundreds of different things that I could actually say, but
hard to narrow it down.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I don't even know how to narrow that down.
Or maybe a piece of advice.
Well, I was going to say that I don't know if this counts or not, but when I had my daughter, she was kind of a surprise and all of that. It was not something that was I was at this stage in life going, I'm ready for this and all of that. It was nothing like that. But I didn't even know I was pregnant for like the first 3 months. I was kind of really run down and tired and working a lot and all, and so I always kind of felt a little nauseous and things like that. So I didn't even realize that it was any different and all. And then I had about 3 months to get used to the fact that, oh my gosh, I have a child coming, and I'm fixing to be a parent and a mom and all of that. And then she was born early. She was born 3 months early.
Oh, wow.
So, she was born at 26 weeks. And so there she was all of a sudden, And I just, I just immediately knew, okay, life has got to change, because this child needs somebody who's serious about parenting her and helping her to grow up and be a good person, and be a happy person that knew she was loved and cared for and is confident in the world, and that can go out and do the same for other people and everything. And I was not that person, believe me. Didn't have a clue who I was, much less anything. And so somebody said to me, she gave birth to you. And that,
oh wow,
and so
that's a great way of looking at that.
That's probably the thing that so radically changed my mindset more than anything else in the world. Now, of course, I was already working on changing things and and trying to do things right and all of that, but that was like just cemented it all that this was right. This was what was the perfect thing to happen.
And I really like that,
because life's going to be good from now on.
Yeah.
And it has been.
Oh yeah,
even with the bad.
Because that. I mean, when you are expecting, even from a dad's perspective, I can remember just truckloads of advice. And guess what? All that advice didn't mean anything when he finally hit the world. We're like, whoa.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Yeah.
I used some of
It's-
it and some of it I didn't. But
Yeah. Yeah.
And then her daughter's in education.
Oh, yeah.
Sort of.
Sort
Yeah.
of. Sort
Yeah.
of.
So
Yeah.
what does she do?
Well, she got a really amazing scholarship to go to Nebraska.
Okay.
So that's where she went to college, and she loved it there. And I knew like
Right.
2 years before she knew that she wasn't coming home. That
Right.
the plan was for her to come home and get a teaching job here in the school district, and just live life close to mom and all of that. And,
Right.
and like I said, I figured it out. Just my
Yeah.
mom sense just said she likes it. She's not going to come home, I don't think. And sure enough, she did eventually break the news to me that, well, yeah, I'll come home eventually, but I really like it here, and
Right.
I'd like to. I'm just going to stay here for a little while after I
Yeah.
graduate and decide what I want to do and all of that. And so I was like, I mourned 2 years ago. I already knew this was coming,
Right.
and so she's been up there ever since. That's been like 7-8 years ago.
Okay.
And so I just go visit her, and eventually I guess I'll end up moving up there or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But she did her little student teaching while she was in college, and
Right.
that is as far as she got as far as
Gotcha.
being in the classroom goes
Right.
in a actual school setting, because she took an extra semester and it had to get paid for, because
Right.
all the funds had dried up and everything, and she took a job at a place called Sand Hills, and she was doing technical data analyzing or something
Right.
like that and all. And so she did that for, I don't know, a little less than a year, and then they promoted her to supervisor. So now
Okay.
she teaches other people how to do her job.
Oh, wow.
And when she was doing that job, she was using all the fun stuff, as she calls it, of the teaching profession, like editing and researching,
Right,
and
yeah.
and that was all the part that she really loved so much anyway about teaching,
Right.
that drew her to it and everything. And so now she still gets to use all of that
Sure.
part, but she's teaching other people
Yeah.
how to
Yeah.
do her job.
Oh, yeah.
And she has all these people underneath her that she's kind of like their teacher, their trainer,
Right.
their coach, and all
Right.
of
Oh,
that
yeah.
stuff. And they all come to her when they have questions and things like that. And so it's, for her, it's just the perfect environment for her,
Sure.
teaching environment that
Yeah.
she's so comfortable
Oh, yeah.
in
Yep.
and all.
Love
But she's getting ready to go back, though, and get a master's degree, and she wants to concentrate on archiving.
Oh, okay.
And she's
Yeah.
just so into that sort of
Yeah.
thing, researching and
Right.
and,
Well, good.
all that. But they don't really just have a degree for that, so she's
Right.
got to get
Yeah.
a Library of Science degree for that.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so
Sure.
I think
Right.
that's just awesome, because
Right.
that's a secret dream of
Yeah.
mine, to be a librarian.
Oh,
My
yeah?
whole life I would love.
So
to
you're a
be
big
librarian.
reader then?
Oh yeah, yeah.
What,
Oh,
what,
yeah.
what do you read?
Mostly I like biographies and stuff
Yeah,
anymore. But now I've
yeah.
been everywhere from science fiction. I
Yeah.
still love science
Right.
fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the way to whatever Harry Potter type stuff and all of
Uh-huh.
that fantasy
Yeah.
and everything. But honestly, now I find myself so drawn
Yeah.
in by just finding out about other people's lives,
Yeah.
and what happened to them, and how
Yep.
they
Yep.
they got to where
Right.
they were at,
Right.
and all of that stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah.
is
you know,
interesting.
and that's the thing too. I mean, I guess I've always kind of been slanted, to the quote unquote nonfiction type stuff, biography, autobiography, for that very
Yeah.
reason. I think we're all slanted one way or the other, and maybe people that have chosen a similar path or not. It's incredible to read about that.
Yes,
And-
yes,
and,
yes.
And a lot of times you can take stuff away. You know.
Yeah,
that's
I like to read about various places as well.
Sure.
like
Oh, yeah.
Ireland,
Yeah.
or
Oh, yeah.
all the places I'll never get to
Right.
go in my life.
Yeah.
I
Right.
love to read about just the
Right.
history and different things like that. It's just it just gets my imagination going.
What kind of music are you into? If we popped in your car,
Um,
what would we hear playing?
You would hear 104.1, which
Okay. Right.
is like the oldies,
Right.
70s, 80s,
Yeah.
sometimes a
Yeah,
couple of 90s songs
classic
here and
rock,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, it's classic rock, but not like 94.1, which is
Right.
Yeah.
like the newer classic rock.
Right.
This is like the Inagata Davida and
Oh,
stuff,
I got you.
I
I got you.
gotcha.
stuff
Love
like that.
it,
Allman
love it.
Brothers, and,
Oh, yeah.
and all
Oh,
of that.
man,
That's what's playing right now.
Yeah.
But now on the bus, we usually listen to 93.3. which is a Christian station
Right.
and all that. And
Right.
every once in a while, one of the kids will be like, "Put on some country, Miss Jo." so we'll put it on 105.1 or whatever. But truthfully, I love everything.
I do too.
I love everything
Yeah.
from classical music to
Right.
to good old rock and roll and all of that
Right.
to Christian music to everything.
Yeah.
I'm so amazed by music.
Oh,
What
yeah.
what an amazing gift
and-
it is to
and,
just
yeah, it
hear
is.
sounds
I mean,
that just
that's-
inspire you. And
My original degree is in radio, television, and you know how they talk about paying dues at whatever you do. But I actually, they had a public radio station, and one of the shows that I hosted was classical music. And I'm telling you, I didn't know anything about it. I graduated from Cutter Morning Star. I'm thinking, so, but like you said, I learned to kind of love that type stuff.
Oh,
Ended
yes.
up working in country before got into education, and but I'm the exact same way. I listen to all kinds of stuff.
I mean, some of it, like, not to diss anything or anything, but like some of the rap music
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
I gotta
can't-
draw the line.
I can't really.
I do like.
Can't
I
really
like
get
rap. I
into
like
that,
rap. I
but
like
it's
everything.
not that
Right.
it's just mainly, I guess, because I just don't know it or whatever. I'm
Yeah.
sure
Right.
there's some good stuff out there,
Oh.
but
There is. There's
yeah, I really and truly, I just sounds in general. Oh, I've always envied people that are musically
Oh, me
talented.
too.
I
Me
wish
too.
so much I could
They
play a
just-
guitar or
when
whatever.
they do it so
piano.
effortlessly.
Oh,
Oh,
I
I
mean,
know
it's
it. I
like-
know it.
I'm like, how does their brain work like that?
Yes,
Crazy.
exactly, exactly.
So if you weren't doing this, what would you be doing, you think? If you could choose, let's just say everything's on the board.
I'd probably be a geologist, to be
Okay,
honest with you.
I got you.
Yes, I'd
Okay.
probably be a geologist. That
Right.
is just something that is so fascinating to me.
Mm-hmm.
Just, you look around and it all seems so random, but it's not.
Oh no, it's
not.
not. It's
But
not
it
at all.
isn't, and just to dig around in there and find out all the secrets and things like
Right.
that. It's just amazing to me. It's
Oh,
so
absolutely.
interesting. Yeah, I read. If I just happen to come across something, I'm gonna stop everything and I'm gonna
Right.
read about it.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
What kind of rock is that? Oh
Yeah.
wow! Okay,
Yeah.
let's see what the process is for that.
Absolutely.
Oh, I just love that stuff. But something I wish I could understand enough to be involved in is like astronomy and things
Oh,
like
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I just read a fact earlier today that said that there is like 140 trillion gallons more water in space than there is in the oceans on the
Wow.
Earth, and I was like.
Yeah.
So of course I immediately want to
Yeah.
know everything there is
Right.
to know about
Oh, yeah,
that,
that's
Right.
but I don't have the
crazy.
capacity to even understand what I'm
Yeah.
reading, when I read something like
Right.
that. So,
Yeah, me neither.
I'd love to know about all that stuff too. But I guess just being here and just knowing a little more about the good old Earth and being,
Sure.
being
Yeah.
grounded and knowing about the ground and stuff is
Yep.
good enough for me. Yeah.
Well, before we wrap up here, I mean, so I asked about advice earlier. So what piece of advice would you give, to just the public at large?
Honestly, oh gosh, again, isn't that tough?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so tough. I honestly I think the things that we have talked about and the things that we've said, don't be shy showing people that you value them.
Right.
Value your friends and your family,
Yeah.
and let them know. Let
Exactly.
them know how
Yeah.
valued they are. Total strangers,
Right.
treat them with respect and treat them like
Yeah.
you would want to be treated, and let them know, hey,
Yeah.
you matter in this world.
Yeah,
You matter,
that's awesome.
and you're of value.
Yeah.
Love
I
it.
think
Really
that's
would.
awesome.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question for you.
Sure.
It's going to sound so crazy, but
No.
I have wondered this so often. The last 2 seasons, I've worked at Magic Springs in the summertime,
Okay.
and so I pass by this all the time.
Another thing we
every
have
day.
in common.
Oh, really?
Okay, yeah.
Really? Well, every time I pass by Cutter Morning Star School,
Right.
I always wonder, how did it get its name? Why is it called Cutter Morning Star? I even Googled it one time
Well,
trying to figure out
there-
why it was called
there's
Cutter
a-
Morning Star.
Mr. Cutter Morningstar will be able to tell you that.
1985.
Exactly. I'm loving this. I'm loving
1985.
this.
So actually, way back in the day, there were actually 3 schools, but when it became Cutter Morning Star, I can't remember the very smallest one, but it was literally Morning Star, and then Cutter Community came together.
Oh, okay.
And,
Okay.
so and they were like the first. I'm almost positive you'll appreciate this fact. If they weren't the first, one of the first to actually have a school bus in the state.
Wow.
Yeah.
In the state?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I never thought about that before school buses.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that.
I think they
Like
started
Opie,
out.
So they were
Started out.
consolidated
40
when you were there?
down the creek.
No. That was like a long time ago that they came together and became Cutter Morning Star.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
but it was.
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
yeah. So
Well, see, I guess I just didn't know that there was a Cutter community
Right,
in that area
yeah,
or a
right.
Morning
Yeah.
Star
Oh, yeah.
community. I've just always known it
Yeah.
as Hot Springs.
well, and it's been really kind of cool for me from the standpoint once I decided to get into education. Married my wife. She's from Jessieville. That's where I started my career. Moved on to Lakeside for administration. My mom graduated from Hot Springs. Dad graduated from Fountain Lake, and I was superintendent at Fountain Lake
Oh, wow.
for 9 years before I took
Darling
this
County.
job.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Dad
And-
going to
and-
school there, never knew.
well,
Never knew what was
well, the funny thing
coming in
is,
the future.
he served on the school board, so very passionate. I mean, he was a fireman by trade for 35 years, but was on the school board for like 17 years there at Cutter. But very passionate. I mean, we grew up going to church in the Fountain Lake community, and so when I had the opportunity to go to Fountain Lake, I said, well, Dad, what do you think? I mean, there was some stuff going on over there, millage and other things, and I said it's not the perfect place, but that's not my nature. I love a good challenge. And he said, well, yeah, I know that about you. And he said, but you need to understand that my picture's on the wall out there. I said, yeah. And I said, I'm hanging on the edge of my seat. So he said, don't screw it up.
Good advice.
Yeah,
Doc.
great,
Good advice.
great advice. Well, we certainly appreciate you taking
Yeah.
the time.
Yes.
I don't know
Well,
about.
thank y'all.
It's been a blessing to
well,
get
it's
to
been
know
a lot of
you.
fun.
Oh yeah.
It's been a lot of
been a
fun.
really cool
Actually,
week.
I had
it's
no
it's
idea
a
what
heart,
to expect.
It's been a
fun.
heartful week because I guess it was earlier in the week when South Pike County got to talk to a couple of fifth graders that are in a kindness club.
Yes.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Good
It
goodness.
so
It was.
What
Yeah.
a neat
yeah.
idea.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We got to put Mr. Beckwith.
Yeah.
We got to get him in kindness training.
Yeah,
But hey,
yeah. But you said it earlier. I mean, what the world needs is just being kind to one another.
Yeah.
Yep.
If
Being
everybody
kind to
can
one
wrap
another
their head around that.
and showing it and
Yeah.
telling people
Yeah.
that I
Yeah.
feel like is going away
Yeah.
somehow.
Absolutely.
We all
yeah.
get so
Or
busy
I feel like
till-
it's
so we don't just
the news is so
communicate.
negative. Everything's so
Yes.
negative, and so I think people that are there. I think there's a lot of good in the world. I think it's
Right.
just it's not it's,
It's
overshadowed by
yes,
Yeah.
it does get overshadowed.
And I can get
sure.
an amen from the choir in the back that's behind the scenes. But you talk about kindness, working with Candace, that really puts you to the test, right? There are lots of days that you're like,
Listen,
woo,
only to you.
Jesus, give
I'm
me
not
strength.
kind.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Don't
Miss
listen
Jo,
to him,
You're-
Joe.
yeah.
You're not
I'm-
listening
I'm
to him.
not.
Yeah.
Miss Jo, we appreciate you.
He's paying for his
Yeah.
past.
That's
right.
right,
That's
that's
going on
right.
here.
Well, we appreciate you very
Yes.
much.
Yes.
Well, thank y'all.
Yeah,
Thank you
so much.
keep doing you because
Yes.
the
I
kids
will.
need it.
I will.
Yes,
well,
they
thank
do.
you.
Yeah, you're
Thank
very
you
welcome.
so much.
Yeah,
I appreciate
and what a
y'all
blessing
too.
you are to the district.
Yes,
And-
for
and
sure.
I
Thank
started
you.
to say we'll put in a good word for you with Dr.
Dr.
Walters, but we don't need to. Heck,
No.
you're a
Well,
rock star. She knows who you
Yeah, that's
are.
right.
I guess. I don't know. I really do. I feel like there are just so many more I could name that
Sure.
that I
Oh, God.
admire
Absolutely.
so much
Yeah.
and all
Absolutely.
that I just
Yeah.
aspire to be anything like them,
Right,
so
sure.
Oh.
they're way above me, that's for sure. But
Well, it's
I
been a
do-
blessing, like
yeah.
Candace
Total
said.
I
blessing,
do
yeah.
I do feel like I've grown since I've been here, so put it
good.
that way.
That's
All right.
awesome.
Well-
That is awesome.
Well, thanks again.
Yes,
Yes.
thank y'all too. This is, like I said, this has been fun. I was
Yep.
really kind
Ah.
of nervous and dreading
Hey.
it, didn't know what it was going to all be about, but then y'all just made it so
promise you,
fun and
yeah,
easy.
If me more so Candace is in the room, you're never going to be the dumbest person in the room. I'll say it that way, okay? So,
kindness training. Kindness
kindness
training.
training,
See?
yes.
Yeah.
well, I
Start
was
back and look at that
I
film
was
again.
I was a little kind. I brought myself in there a little bit, but
He did hire me twice, so
yeah,
he,
yeah, exactly.
he's hired me twice.
That's after I had head trauma,
Yeah.
falling down, and I woke up the next day and said, "I did what?" Yeah, exactly. Well, again, thank you, and that's going to put a wrap on this edition of Spilling the Tea in Studio D.